using CTGS for doing my little 2D games. CTGS is a free game editor, basically using modified JavaScript, and you can render the game for the web, desktop, or for Android. For coding, you are using special CTGS code built on PixieJS, which is a 2D library, and it all builds on JavaScript. You can use a mixture of all three. There are a lot of CTGS documentation on the editor's web page. In the text below the video I will add links to the web page, and there you can also download the editor. I am now using the 3.1 version, which at this time is a pretty new version. My first attempt with this version is to make a program for learning the alphabet. This is for my grandchildren, and it will be in my native language, which is Swedish. And I thought I would share with you how I am going about it. The part I will emphasize the way I go about it. It is not necessarily the best way to do things, but it is a way. First, a small presentation of the editor. So I am on a Windows machine. I have installed the editor by downloading a zip file and then extracted the files in a folder of my choice. To open the editor, I go to the folder and clicks the CTGS exe file. The editor opens up and I can see the latest projects I've been working on, including the ones I have worked on in an earlier version of the editor. Mostly it is small projects where I have tested if I can do different things I want to have in a game. But I do have 2 completed games that I done earlier in GTGS. Miss Carver and the Diggings of Tali Khan, a point-and-click adventure game, and Angry Road, an arcade driver top-down game. In this view, I also have the option to create a new project by giving it a name and select a folder for it. Let's do that. I will recreate how I have made the program for learning the alphabet. So, we now come to the projects page in the editor. Here we can type in some information about the game. We can see that we have a number of tabs in a column to the left. The Authoring tab is where we are now. We also have tabs in a bar at the top of the page, and we can see that we are at the projects page. The bar at the top is always shown whatever part of the editor we are in. Going right from the Projects tab, we have Textures. This is where we load images. I always use images in PNG format when possible. PNG works fine with CTGS. Offhand, I don't know what other image formats will work and what might not work. Loading the images only means that the images can be used in the game, but they are not yet in the game. Images can either be used as background images, in which case we need to check the background image box, and then the image can be added to the room under the tab at the far right. Or an image can be used for an object in the game. To do that, we first need to attach the image to a template under the tab Template.
We can then create copies from the template, and those copies will be the objects in the game. The copies can be added under the Room tab through drag and drop or through code. Code can be written attached to a room or attached to a template. Code attached to a template will be used by copies from that template. Code attached to a room will be used in that room. Finding the best way to place the code between using it in a room or in a template is something I have had some difficulty with. Okay, let's see what I want to do with the alphabet game. I want to have a page for each letter, a page or a room. On each of these pages, the letter will be shown in its uppercase version. There will be a button to play a recording of the sound of the letter and a word with the letter as the first letter. There will be an illustration of that word. The illustration will at first be hidden, and there will be a button with a magnifying glass on it, signifying a clue. The illustration will be shown if the magnifying glass is pressed or if the sound button is pressed. Finally, there will be a button to move on to the next letter. What will be the next letter will be picked randomly. So we need a background image for each letter. The magnifying glass is a separate image large enough to cover the illustration. I will also want to have a start page. This page will only need the one button to start the program running. So I have made the necessary images, loaded them into the project, marked them up as backgrounds, except for the magnifying glass. Now, let's go to the Room tab and create rooms.
In the Room page, I will have two groups, one called Main. Let's start with that one and create a room in this group. We have some buttons to the left. We can start with the bottom button that controls the room's properties. Here we will give the page a name and set the size of the view. This is not necessarily the size of the background image, but in this case it is. It will be 640 by 480 pixels. We do have a background color that we can change. It is possible to not have any background image at all and just go with the background color. But we do have a background image. So let's go to the next button, which is the Managing Backgrounds. Here we pick a background image that we can choose from images loaded to the texture page. We then go to the settings for the background. We can leave everything as it is except for the repeat field that we will change to no repeat. The repeat settings are for games with scrolling one way or another. Next button is for tile sets. We are not going to use a tile set, so we can skip that. The next button is for adding objects, that is copies made from a template. We will not have any objects on the main page, so we can skip this one. And also we can skip the last button, Select, as that also deals with objects. We click Save to get back to the Room main page. We make a new group for letters and add a new room in that group for the letter A. We set a name and view size. We add a background image and set it to non-repeat, all the same as for the main page. Here, however, we will add an object. before we can do that, we need to have a template to create a copy from. So we go to the Template tab, we create a new template. All we have to do is to click on the area marked as Select. We can now choose an image from the texture area, and we could be done with that for now. Looking at the code area, we can see that there is a line of code already filled in. We will, however, not need this line, so we will remove it. We can now go back to the room page, and we now have the template clue as an option to use. We can drag and drop it onto the page. The object will not drop on the exact spot we want to have it on. We can use the Select button to open a menu where we, among other things, can set an exact position for the object. We are now finished with room A for now. We click Save and go back to the room main page. We are in the Letters group, and we can set room A as the starting room. We do this just for testing purpose. In the actual game, room A will not be the starting page. We save the project and we launch the game such as it is for the moment. The game opens in the editor. To the right we have a number of development tools. At this time the game doesn't do anything, but let's end part 1 here, and when I return with part 2 we will add some action to the game. When I have part 2 done and uploaded, I will add a link to it in the description below. So this will be all for now. See you later, and bye for now.